What did he say?
I think I like it better with him back there. What?
I can't hear what he's saying.
I can't hear what he's saying.
Is there what in
It's not
the?
very comfortable back here.
It's not very rumpable.
This doesn't seem efficient. Nobody's gonna want to watch this.
Jeez.
We should probably just let him in.
Okay.
Alright, somebody snap me in. Okay, stay still as you can, Chad, and then call over. We're gonna have to move. Switch it. If this looks bad, it's all the funnier.
Get a shot of him closing the tailgate back up.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I'll jump in. Right?
Yes.
Do I have to move?
Yeah. I can crawl over you.
Okay. No, I'm gonna just get out.
Alright, just remember the position of your face is the best you can. Because if it doesn't work, it's not gonna look professional, right? We gotta do Star Wars levels effects here.
We should just keep all this in.
I'm not moving at him.
Oh gosh.
Oh jeez.
Oh, he's here. Oh, it's...
Wow, the mic is kind of peaking a little bit. There's some stuff here. Okay. All right.
I can imagine. More stuff?
More stuff.
it does.
It does.
I need to get my phone, which is in my pocket.
Me too. That's what I was doing. Ow, I just phone in my glasses. Oh,
Sorry.
this is better. This is much better.
Why do we decide?
Well, last time I was like this the whole time.
No, you weren't.
Wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
No, maybe you were.
And
He was.
this is much better.
Okay. You look a lot smaller.
I do. Well, there's two things happening here. One, the camera warps on the ends, making you guys look much bigger than me.
Yeah.
And then, plus I have a small head.
I think you're leaned back more too. There.
Yeah, this looks more appropriate. Yeah.
So I watched Fanboys instead of A New Hope.
Oh.
I mean, it's not bad. Fanboys are pretty good. It's all right.
So did you watch A New Hope?
I did.
Okay.
But it made me want to watch Fanboys. So
Yeah. I mean,
What's Fanboys?
it was a movie from the late 2000s.
I think 2007 or 8.
Yeah, something like that. It's a comedy, a road trip comedy about a bunch of nerds who want to break into George Lucas's house in order to see an early copy of Phantom Menace.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all right.
It was pretty good.
Should we watch that as like the 10th movie?
No.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, all of us watched Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 4. Chad and I have seen it before. This guy hasn't.
Well, now I have.
Well, now you have. That's what I meant. Anyway.
So, I can no longer say I haven't watched Star Wars before.
Yeah.
Do we take...
He's just gonna cut it out. I wanted to, but he's just gonna cut it out.
Yeah.
I did that just for Adam.
I will cut it out.
Anyway, Adam lost his Star Wars. That's fine, right? Anyway, what did you think about Star Wars: A New Hope Episode 4?
Well, so we're just gonna go into it.
Yeah, let's hear.
Are we done with the shenanigans? Can I talk serious about Star Wars now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I got a lot to talk about.
I'll talk about...
I want to hear what you thought about
So, it has the potential of being a top 10 series for me.
Really?
I actually really enjoyed it.
Huh.
Yeah.
So...
That's surprising.
Do you know what? For me, going back, not that I could say it's like... There's something about what you just said about it being a top 10 series for you.
Yeah.
Where I didn't... Like, there's world building there that I've never picked up on before.
I wanted to mention that as well, yeah.
And, like, even, like, the opening title crawl.
Well,
like,
that's not really world building, that's just exposition.
I get... But, like, with new movies that have come out, we have more understanding of it. So, I mean, Adam will have to wait, but...
Yeah.
Right, I guess.
So...
But maybe we should just go over the movie.
Sure.
And,
Well, so I really did like it. I just wanted to mention one thing about like I guess my biggest fear going into it was I was not going to be able to get past the 1977 graphics.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't bother me at all. There are a couple scenes, and we will talk about them.
What about the 1997 graphics?
We'll talk about a few things, but in general, I thought I wasn't going to get past that. I've watched a lot of old movies, but none with CG in it, right? CGI. It was more like just old westerns and stuff that you don't really need a lot of that.
Well, that's the thing about Star Wars. A lot of it isn't even CGI. It's just good old-fashioned like movie trickery. It's a lot of matte paintings, a lot of practical effects.
You mean the Death Star was just...
That was just the Death Star was
miniatures.
It was miniatures.
Yeah.
Was it actually?
Yes.
That's why it looked so
all
good.
the ships are miniatures. All the Death Star is miniatures.
Okay.
In front of a matte painting, which is somewhat like a matte painting of space that someone just drew, and they just put a Death Star.
Well,
in there,
okay, so that's interesting.
hanging
because
on a string.
I was amazed at how well it looked. Like rendered really high resolution and everything. I was like, that's pretty good. But that makes a lot more sense.
That's the power of practical effects. They just look better for longer periods of time. That's why the 1977 version would hold up amazingly, but we didn't necessarily watch that.
Yeah, so I found out.
Yeah.
The only other thing, so I did like the movie. We're going to get into what I predicted, and I was so far off. I got about every character wrong in my mind. Other than Luke Skywalker, I think I had a general idea.
I don't think you've met every character that like Kyle was going over.
No, but meaning like
They met Davin Felf.
Princess Leia, Han Solo. Like I knew the names, but I didn't really know what their character was about. But now I do, and I actually, I
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
yeah.
Or as
I know
he
that.
says, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just like you, Chad.
Okay.
No, he does say that. No, he introduces himself as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I haven't gone by the name of Obi-Wan since before you were born.
Okay, but we don't need to make fun of my pronunciation.
No, I'm just saying, you were authentic in your pronunciation.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
It is Han Solo, by the way.
It's not. I made a point of making sure no one said Han Solo in that movie. Obi-Wan is fine.
I was checking too, actually.
Yeah, I was too. I'll be honest.
Well, we only mentioned in passing like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo.
Han Solo?
Oh my goodness! Stop.
Han Solo.
Oh,
I was hoping they would, and I was going to play.
They
that scene
mispronounced Obi-Wan and Princess Leia. The old dude rebellion guy says Princess Leia, which is like...
Plans provided by Princess Leia has demonstrated...
Actually, I did hear that too.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
So is that just 1977 movies they're not catching that stuff, or is that? I mean, that's realistic, right? People are going to pronounce people's names wrong, even if they're famous for that.
Well, yeah, here's the script, old guys, and they just said it wrong.
Well, but meaning even it's true to life, right? Like you'll have just people pronouncing even famous people's names wrong.
You write it down.
I thought you were going for Adele there for some reason.
It's a woman I work with calls me Shad.
Shad. Kylie. I've gotten Kylie before.
Oh, that's
Kylie?
a little bit
Kylie, yeah.
unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
You should change. Well, you don't.
I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to change it because people don't have to pronounce words.
Okay. So I did enjoy it. I got past the graphics. There are definitely some scenes we want to talk about. Do we want to get into... So something I didn't get into last episode was I actually wrote down a prediction for every movie. Mm-hmm. All I could go off of was the poster. So I wrote down what I think the movie's going to be about. And I also wrote down like my first... Before I watched any Star Wars, like what was my general idea of the whole story arc. What I've pieced together through memes, through songs, through whatever.
Right, so just read that.
Hold on.
Yep.
I want to get us off on another tangent before we get to that.
Okay.
You mentioned the posters.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, which posters look the best?
The one with the white border or the other? What do
Like,
you mean?
between, like...
which movie?
Like which movie poster? Like,
I can't remember them. Right
because...
off. I mean, they're right here.
The original trilogy posters look so much cooler than the other ones.
Because they're painted. They're hand painted. They're not Photoshop jobs like every
But
poster
it's
nowadays.
also like a different art. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So can someone send me those so I can do them right?
Yeah, sure.
No, well, when we get to this topic here...
So in
it'll
this movie, I'll have the right ones.
Yeah,
in there.
when we're talking about this, it'll just magically change to the real ones.
That'd That would have been better.
Whoop.
Achoo!
Okay.
That's how I'm going to change them.
All right.
Okay.
Seat buckle's still digging into my right butt cheek.
And I can't feel my legs.
Really?
I think I love this podcast.
I have a fresh tattoo, and all I'm doing
really?
is trying to protect it from.
Is it a Star Wars tattoo?
Oh,
No, it's a-
Pluto.
It's a bird. It's a bird.
It's a bird?
Yeah. It's upside down to us right now.
Is it one of those? Is it one of the crows crowing at the sand people?
No, crows crowing at the sand people.
Or the vultures?
Let's
What were the birds talking about? I'm just assuming there were birds in the sand people scene.
Let's see what your prediction are for the first movie.
Were you reading this?
No.
Okay, good. All right, so I wrote down a letter. I dated it, okay, just to make sure it's. Someone wants to go back to prove that I.
No one can falsify his dates on a Word document. It's impossible.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. Okay, so I just wrote, I'm making these predictions based on the years of references through other pop culture movies, TV shows, music, etc. Most of the information I have gleaned about Star Wars has been from Weird Al music, Robot Chicken sketches, Spaceballs the movie, epic rap battles of history, which I forgot to mention last episode, and some video games. So I have a prediction for the overarching storyline of all of Star Wars.
Right.
I believe that Luke Skywalker is Anakin Skywalker's son. Anakin starts off as a really good Jedi who goes bad and becomes Darth Vader. Luke will come in to save the day and sacrifice himself for the greater good of the whole human race, or the race, just like Jesus did. Because you had mentioned that a couple times, that he spaced Jesus, so I threw that in my prediction. So don't. I could be way off on this. I could be right on this. I have no idea.
I want a bit of clarification. So you're saying you got all your info from like other media, like Weird Al and Robot
The
Chicken.
first part of that was very much Weird Al. That was The Saga Begins.
Yes,
But
that's where
I just
got
want
it.
to. Did you allow yourself like the freedom of going back and listening to those
No.
and then creating this, or this is
No.
purely based on like the last time you listened to Weird Al? This is what you remember.
Yeah.
A long, long time ago.
Okay.
Something else I should mention too. I mean, Kyle, you and I have been friends for a long time, and and one of our other friends, sometimes Star Wars comes up, and so there are some things that I might have like.
Other friends.
Remember?
Oh, the guy we play games with?
Yeah,
Benny Boy?
Benny Boy. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, Benny Boy.
never met
Guy
him.
we play games.
Oh, yeah.
We've never met him. We just play games with him.
We call him Benny Boy.
Oh, Benny Boy! I sing that every time he comes online.
It's not lying.
So yeah, also just things that you've mentioned over time that I just like have pieced together this overarching thing about Star Wars. So that's my overall prediction. We'll see how correct I am at the end of the 9 movies or whatever. So my prediction for Star Wars: A New Hope. I believe in this movie. I haven't read this since watching the movie, by the way. So I'm kinda
Okay.
curious.
But you believe in it already.
I believe in this movie, Luke Skywalker will be the main character, and he will lose his hand at the hands of his father, Darth Vader. That famous scene might actually be in the next movie, so I'll probably make this prediction. again. Princess Leia will be in this movie. Princess Leia, sorry, will be in this movie. She will be in a desert at some point, lost perhaps. There will be badly filmed by today's standards laser fight scenes. The Force will be used to grab someone's neck. Darth Vader's mask will come off and reveal his ugly face. Luke starts the movie with a gun, but gets Jedi'd, like being knighted.
He gets Jedi'd?
Yeah, like being knighted, and gets a lightsaber. There are actually quite a few things I got right.
That's a
on
lot
this.
for one movie. Like, that's an absurd amount for one movie.
So, yeah. So I wasn't that far off. There's some wild stuff there, but
That's...
like Luke losing his hands.
I'm not going to say how accurate you are. Well, you know how accurate you are to the first
know,
movie,
yeah.
but maybe some of that stuff comes up later.
I feel like some of
Maybe
it
it
does.
doesn't.
That's why, like, as I wrote it, I'm like, I know some of these things will happen, but I just don't know when. So I kind of threw them in.
You're kind of
a few
mixing up
movies.
your knowledge of all 3 movies and put them into one
Probably.
giant movie.
Probably. So that was my prediction. So I have a prediction for each movie, so I'll read them after we watch each movie.
Okay.
But I'm actually excited to watch the next one. That's why I really want to get this podcast done. I want to
That-
watch the next one.
That's That was going to be one of my questions. Was like, I guess should we talk about where you think it's going to go? But it's because it's like it doesn't really leave like
No, it
on a
doesn't.
cliffhanger-y like what's
Darth
going to
Vader
happen.
floats off,
Yes.
He blasts off into the sky, just like
Which-
Team Rocket.
but he's
Okay.
still alive, very much alive.
When we talk about that, there's something I have to talk
Yeah,
about.
why,
when
okay.
we get
Why
there.
don't we just
Okay.
get into the movie? Let's just
Okay.
break it down.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry,
Let's start. It's fine. Let's start with the beginning, which is the title crawl. Did anyone read it?
No,
Yes, I did. I did, and well, we already talked about how it references a movie that will happen chronologically earlier.
True. That's why it also leads me into my thing of Star Wars isn't original.
Oh,
the,
yes.
The only thing that isn't original. The only thing that's original about it is it's the first movie to take a bunch of stuff from the past and cram them into one giant movie. Because that crawl is taken directly from Flash Gordon,
yeah.
the old Flash Gordon serials, which,
Oh.
if anyone isn't familiar with film serials, they're essentially like little mini movies that you would go to the theater to see, and they'd be like episode like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'd go see it, and then it would end, and then you'd have to wait till whenever the next episode comes, and you go see it, and there'd be a title crawl to tell you what happened in the last movie in case you missed it. So you can look at images of it from Flash Gordon in this. The title crawl is exactly the same. And you see that throughout the entire movie. George Lucas really liked Flash Gordon and samurai movies.
Flash Gordon.
Which opens with the big opening thing of the stormtroopers coming into the ship. And our big reveal of Darth Vader.
Yes.
Which it's weird after seeing the prequel, seeing him act competent.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought there was one thing that kind of broke a little bit of immersion for me, where it was like, I don't know, I guess I'm used to movies now, all these guys were lying dead on the ground, but it was very much, you could tell it was just extra actors who they just had their arms over their faces and stuff like that. But it was I thought it was a little bit immersion breaking, because it was these aren't wounded people. There's no real, it's not that there was a big battle or anything, but they all have been shot.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like how when movies, when someone gets cut with a lightsaber, there's no blood or anything.
Yeah, which I guess all of that is to keep their ratings.
Because it returned to R.
Yeah.
So they made up some stuff about no, it's not bleeding because the lightsaber is so hot it cauterizes the wound on impact. So you can make the same decoration for the blasters, but they're so hot.
Would it?
No, of course not. It's just something they made up for the movie.
No, something so hot, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it cauterize it?
Immediately with no blood.
Cauterizing would happen pretty immediately.
I guess, but
wouldn't it?
I think even the impact of it hitting, there'd be a little bit. A little bit, I would think.
A little bit, but also I feel if it immediately cauterized a wound, unless it completely went through the heart and destroyed the heart or some other vital organ, it wouldn't drop a person right away.
But wouldn't that be the sickest thing if someone just gets shot and their heart explodes? That would be awesome.
Sure.
I would like to see that. Come on, Disney.
Disney, yes, please.
The one company who will do it.
I don't get why we're antagonizing Disney right now.
I don't care.
Okay. All right.
Something I also want to mention with Darth Vader that I found really funny is when he walks in and this big reveal and he's just kind of standing there with his hands on his hips. Anyone else notice that? It was oh, it's a good job you boys did. It's that's not cool. No cool person has ever put their hands on their hips. And yes, I'm including all of us.
Superman.
He's not cool. Superman's not cool.
Yes, he is. Maybe not in the movies you don't like, but
But does it work for a villain though?
But yeah, does it instill any kind of threat or anything? He doesn't seem threatening at this
He
point.
seems like a dorky dad, which I guess ties into the future movies, where he's just you kids winning in here? Good.
that's interesting because I actually get the impression he was a very formidable villain.
Okay.
So maybe it's the prequels reading it, or I could be just off, but maybe you guys are thinking too much of what he is overall.
Yeah.
No, the hands on the hips thing, no.
Not that part.
If his hands weren't on his hips and they were just straight to the sides, they're yeah, it's a pretty intimidating villain.
But just just like his power and the way people feared him, and
The other stuff, yeah.
I definitely got the impression he wasn't like a Voldemort or anything like that. Like he's way more fearful.
Yeah.
I feel there's like I find there's a later scene in the movie that sets it up more than just his entrance. That makes him more.
But that's supposed to be a big thing of like, oh, that's the villain, and it just has his hands on his hips. I know I'm pointing that a lot, but for some reason it really bothered me on this rewatch. Just don't put your hands on your hips. Villains never put your hands on your hips, ever.
I mean, I guess
I can't.
None of us can.
I feel like Voldemort never did that. Voldemort was never really that.
Yeah, but he didn't have a nose either, so.
Voldemort was definitely intimidating.
But if he put his hands on his hips, like the big battle at the Hogwarts at the end, if it's like, well, Harry, is that intimidating?
There's a point where he does put one hand on a hip.
That's
Okay. Let's move on.
Let's
from the
move on.
hips.
Okay. What happens later is that Leia gives R2D2 the plans and a message for Obi-Wan, and then the droids get shot out into outer space in a super secret escape pod. But the Empire's like, yeah, it's probably fine.
I know, that part was like, I was like, in the sake of thoroughness, you'd think they would,
Especially for
because they were aware something like that was going to happen.
especially for the sake of like the tractor being pulled in the ship. It would only be for someone to be like, oh,
Yeah.
they don't even have to shoot it down. They could just like, let's pull that back.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like
Don't worry about it. Lunch is in like 15.
the other thing, when Leia gets caught, it's the only time in the whole series they set their phasers to stun or whatever, their guns to stun.
Did I say that? I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a thing, she gets shot, but am I right?
I don't remember that.
It's
I mean, set phasers to stun is a Star Trek thing.
I know, that's why I kind of read. But like they said set your blasters to stun or something like that.
Right.
Because they do shoot her and like you get the CGI of the like her like the blue lightning going over and all that, right?
True.
I guess I only recognized that they did stun her.
Right. But yeah, and I was mostly distracted by like, question, does Princess Leia have a British accent or not?
The Imperial Senate will not sit still for this. When they hear you've attacked a diplomatic...
Don't act so surprised.
I don't think so. I mean, the film, like all the set pieces and stuff like that, like the indoor set pieces, it was all filmed in England.
Yeah, but I don't think Carrie Fisher is British. So.
No, she's not.
So it felt like the whole movie she was going in between a British and English accent. But I was kind of aware of this beforehand, so I was really listening, and I'm like,
British and American accent, you mean?
yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
I just want to correct you.
Sorry.
It's not very often I can correct you, so I'm going to correct you.
And grammar you can. It's not that hard.
It is for me.
Yeah, no, I don't think I picked up on it. Whenever I go back and watch this movie again, or do you think it's prevalent in like the next couple of movies?
I don't remember. I'd have to rewatch them again to remember.
I'll
I don't
watch for that.
think so, but that's going based off of my memory, so I'm not sure.
I felt like it might have just been her stern voice. Like most of the time she was stern, and so she was a little shorter with her words.
Yeah.
So it might have just felt like more of an accent.
Well, also maybe it's just because she's a princess and she thought subconsciously, I should, princesses are, in high fantasy, the British, which is Star Wars high fantasy pretty much. So the next part is the droids land on the planet.
Land on Tatooine.
Tatooine, which is never said in the movie. They never call it Tatooine.
Really?
No.
They
say Dantooine is where the...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like I always thought it was weird because for whatever... Like, I don't think this was the first, like, Star Wars media I ever consumed either. I feel like I might have seen episode 1 before I saw this. And they talk about Tatooine. And then, like, I remember watching this movie for the first time. And they're like, Dantooine. And I was like... They're just like changing one letter to come up with like this random.
But Dantooine is also a giant sand planet.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's in Star Wars: The Knights of the Old Republic, the game.
Oh, okay.
And in that game, it's also a sand planet. So you have Tatooine, it's a sand planet, Dantooine, and then what's the one in Force Awakens? That's a different one. That's also a sand planet.
I don't remember, but it's not like Uin. It doesn't end with Uin.
No, but it's still a sand planet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sand planets in Star Wars.
But
yeah, they
crash land in the desert,
and they're picked up by the hooded guys.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what are they called?
Jawas.
Jawas. Yes.
Okay.
And I've heard the sound effects they made in so many other movies and video games.
Have you?
Chutini, like that sound. It's hard to reproduce, but I've heard that in so many things before. But yeah, they kidnap the robots, put them in their like caravan with a bunch of other broken robots.
I think that's one of like the coolest looking vehicles in all of Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool vehicle. Yeah.
So, but yeah, go on.
And this is the part in the movie when like they're inside and R2D2 is looking at all the broken robots, and they're all like practically made. They're all like props.
Yeah.
And this is the point in where I made the note. Here. Where is it? Oh, movie looks great for its age. Special effects really hold up. And the very next scene was the stormtroopers combing the desert on giant butt-ugly dinosaurs made of CGI.
So were those from the '97 edition that got put in at that point?
Yeah, I believe there is a scene of stormtroopers combing the desert. They did not have I think they're called dewbacks. Is that what they're called?
Okay.
They're big, ugly dinosaurs. But like, yeah, so there was a scene of them combing the desert, but in the special edition, they had the ugly CGI, which is not part of the original. So that was the point in the movie where I'm like, oh no, the Disney Plus version might be the worst version of this. And the movie didn't do anything to disprove that going forward.
One of the things about that desert too, I had some trivia facts popped up here, and there's like a skeleton that they pass at one point, of some alien or whatever, that was placed there by the production team, and when they finished filming, they left it there.
That's a bad idea.
And they returned 20 years later for when I think they were filming filming some scenes in the special edition, and the thing was still there. The friggin' skeleton was still there.
That's probably a bad idea. You probably don't leave a skeleton like that in the desert.
Yeah.
It's like, we gotta identify the skeleton.
And
plastic.
And the Jawa's convoy vehicle, whatever, transport vehicle.
Yeah.
It was in a desert in Tunisia, and what was it bordering with?
I didn't look any of this stuff up. The locations.
It was. Anyways, it bordered on another country, and the other country contacted the Tunisian government had to contact the production and say you gotta get away from that border because they think it's one of our military vehicles that are approaching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a funny thing. So
yeah. Can we pause for 1 second?
yeah.
Ow! I have such a bad Charlie horse. Sorry. Ow! Sorry. I'm wasting film. I'm wasting money.
Wasting film.
Ow! This is a bad idea, shooting.
I think it's great.
Okay. It's around there that they bring it to Uncle Owen's farm. Is that around the time?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when we're introduced to our hero about how long in the movie at this point? Like 25 minutes?
I don't think it's that long.
Or 20? 15, 20?
I'd say maybe 15.
Yeah. But that's when we're introduced to our hero, Luke Skywalker.
Okay. Yeah, let's keep that up.
And we get the impression that Luke doesn't even really want to be there. He wants to go and fight and die in the rebellion. So
it's funny that he mentions when he meets the droids, he says something about picture the center of the galaxy. We're the furthest thing away from it. And that the rebellion has that kind of recruiting power out that far.
Right.
Across the galaxy. You'd think it would be much bigger than this one secret base on where Yavin 4 where the movie ends up.
Yeah. And it also feels like Luke doesn't really, he just wants to do it because all of his friends did it. It feels like a peer pressure thing because he talks about how Biggs left Tatooine to go fight in the rebellion. It's
yeah. But also it's he's I feel like it's also he's just doesn't want to be there too. He thinks it's his big ticket. It's almost like someone who like joins the army to see the world or whatever. You know what I mean?
I guess there's probably better ways to do that. I guess. But
Oh,
it's cheaper, but it's
Yes.
like, I don't know. It's like a Disney princess where it's like there has to be more.
That's true.
But yeah, so yeah, Uncle Owen buys R2D2 and C-3PO, and he almost buys the crappy red droid.
Yeah.
Which I've seen so many like parodies of, like, what if in Star Wars they bought the red one and it worked, and like Luke just stays on the planet forever.
That's funny.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love that red droid. It was cooler looking too. I don't care. It was cool. It was like a trash can on wheels. That's dope.
It's amazing that no matter how many movies you watch, and you knew that he was gonna somehow R2D2 was gonna end up.
Oh, of course.
But it's amazing how many movies you still have that anticipation, and it's like, really? Or like, but like, you know it's coming,
Yeah.
and you know Princess Leia is gonna be saved in the end, and you know like all these things, but like it, like just.
Yeah.
Every movie does them, but it's amazing how maybe I'm just gullible.
But on this scale, back in 1997, even if the plot was predictable, it had so much other things going for it. I think people didn't care as much. Modern days, I think people care a bit more, like me, who nitpicks everything.
I would say there were a couple things but I just assumed that it was the era that it was recorded in. Like the dialogue and the acting was all like definitely subpar in a lot of ways.
I thought the acting was pretty good.
Well, just meaning like, not subpar, but just different. Like, you know how today it's much more emotion in this talk, whereas before everything was just like up or down.
I think that's also a bit of directing style, because like when you talk about emotion in a character, like sometimes you'll see like a director like get real close up on someone's face and stuff like that. Like there was like none of that with this.
Yeah, and if you think the acting in this is subpar, wait till we get to the prequels.
That's good.
So I guess what I mean is, have you guys ever watched The Waltons?
No.
Do you know who John Boy is?
No.
We could do a series on The Waltons.
I'm not doing a series
It's
on
so
the
long,
Waltons.
but I love it. So John Boy is the main character, and his like, he is a good actor for sure, and a lot of people think that, but it's there's a certain style. It reminds me a little bit too much of like high school theater, where it's like, I don't know, Uncle. It's like that kind of like
that. Well, it's not even just the Waltons. A lot of early black and white movies were very expressive too.
Yeah,
it's just a different. It's not necessarily bad. It was just how it was done.
That's what I was thinking. It might be the time.
Yeah,
not necessarily
there's plenty of old black and white movies and shows that are still great. It's just you kind of have to acclimatize to that type of acting.
Yeah, and so on that scale,
Star Wars kind of falls in the middle between more modern and the old timey kind of acting.
Right. So with that in mind, I would agree. It wasn't so much bad acting. It was just different from what I was expecting. I guess I was still picturing the acting to be more in the modern style of dialogue.
Right. So what was the next part of the movie?
Next, where
someone want to take the reins for a second?
Oh, the R2D2 runs away. R2D2 runs away. Luke chases after him.
Well, first C-3PO gets that hot oil bath. We can't skip that scene.
Okay, yes.
That hot oil bath.
Luke.
It was a weird scene.
Yeah, there's a robot getting a bath, and Luke is complaining about being stuck on a sand planet.
It's a different time.
Okay.
By the way, a hot oil bath.
It felt good on the servos or something.
Okay.
The one thing I'm gonna try not to do, maybe until the end, is I'm not gonna poke hole from like a science or a physics perspective.
Don't bring science into this at all.
I was gonna say, I feel like there's so many things that, like, I just kind of shut that part of my brain off.
You have to for Star Wars.
Okay, and I think I made that right call then. So I chose.
It's fantasy. It's like don't question the magic in Lord of the Rings. It's like you just accept it for what it is because the world establishes it.
Oddly enough, I find I can believe in magic more than I can believe in bad physics or bad science, or you know what I mean. Like,
it's not science. It's magic. Even if you think it's science in Star Wars, it's actually magic.
Okay, that's what I'll think.
Yeah,
that'll help.
But you're right. R2D2 runs away because they find out that they're looking for old Ben Kenobi from R2D2 because Luke finds the hidden message Leia put in him.
At this point, we're going the rate of the movie.
I know.
40 minutes.
I figured this was gonna happen.
That's fine. No, I was pointing out.
Whatever.
What was that cruiser he was driving? With no wheels?
The land speeder? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, like, how did they make that work? Wasn't it like mirrors or something like that?
No, it was actually like there was like, I watched this and I didn't pay attention to it close enough, I guess. But I think it was 2 pieces of film on top of each other that created it, created the effect. But it like looked awful in the original because it made like a purple shadow under everything. Is that right, Kyle?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to point out, like the speed of that cruiser, like that definitely dated it. It was like, wow, we're going so fast across land, and like walking speed. No wind blowing in the air, nothing, just like a golf cart. It reminded me of a golf cart.
It's a golf cart.
We're just flying here.
On the sand planet.
Yeah. And then, the Sand People. Okay. Those come up, right? Those are next.
Tusken Raiders.
Tusken Raiders.
That was weird.
So is that yeah, it was very weird. Is that like a football team? Or?
No, that's the name of the
I know.
It sounds like it though.
It definitely does.
Tuscany Raider.
Tusken Raider. What are they?
Tusken Raiders.
Yeah. So that name didn't come up in that movie.
Nope.
Though. Okay.
Whenever did the Jawas, that name didn't come up either.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I looked.
So before anyone knew those names, they would just be like, "Oh, the Sand People." Which Sand People? It's like,
I say the Sand People because that's what Luke called them.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, we got the Sand People," and he pulls out this giant sniper spear thing.
What would you call the Jawas though? Then
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because they didn't say. So.
I mean, they're all technically Sand People.
The short Sand People. Okay, so one thing take it to the very first thing that really bothered me was they didn't even show Luke getting knocked out, and then he wakes up later.
Because of Obi-Wan? Didn't Obi-Wan come to save him?
Yeah, but like
he got hit in the head with the.
I didn't see that.
Well, you're watching on your phone.
It was like he raised his arms and then Luke had fallen, but I didn't see the actual hit.
There is a shot.
I remember a hit. Yeah.
Okay.
But then
I must have missed that. Though.
Yeah, but then but Obi-Wan does come to save him. Old Ben Kenobi. He introduces himself as Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
I'm not saying that to give you a hard time, Chad. He actually does. Go watch the movie. Everyone says Obi-Wan. He says Obi-Wan. So I guess he's right technically because it's his own name. But
he hated being part of the movie.
Alec Guinness? Yeah. Oh yeah, he hated being in this movie. That's why he gets killed at the end because I don't want to be in the movie anymore. I don't know how they convinced him to come. Okay, I can't say anymore. But yeah, he hated the movie so much that during production, it's like, can you just kill me? I don't. And he was infamous about it. Like, if anyone sent him fan mail saying they love Star Wars, he would immediately throw it in the garbage. He hated it.
Why?
Because he just thought it was stupid nonsense, childish nonsense. But Harrison Ford hates it too. So.
I can see why you would think that, like at the beginning of it. But.
Yeah, but he wanted out.
Okay, so that helps with the first scene that really bothered me. The weapon that Luke pulled out, that was a sniper rifle, right? When he pulls something out, it looked like one of those World War I and World War II bayonet guns. It was like really long.
I don't remember that scene.
He pulled it out of the Land Cruiser. But
I thought it was just like a rifle or something.
But it seemed really long and skinny,
I think we're focusing too much on.
But when it came out, and I'm just like, it's like, to me it was a little funny. You think you'd have like a pistol on your side or something. It's like, oh, the Sand People. It's like it's no big deal. But yet they end up knocking him out before he even stands 2 seconds in a fight.
Yeah, he's not a fighter. Okay. He's a farmer. They farm moisture, which I don't know how that works.
Well. Yeah, you just pull moisture out of the air.
And then sell it? Like, do you go to take it to a market and sell the moisture?
Probably. They live on a desert planet.
I'm questioning the science too much.
Okay.
Well, if they live on a desert planet, it makes sense to have to draw moisture from some places.
I guess. I just don't understand much about moisture farming, I guess.
The air wouldn't have a lot of moisture to pull out, but
Yeah. They only need him for one more harvest, and then he can go off to the academy. Uncle Owen sucks, by the way. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
well, he's dead now.
sucks.
Don't talk like that.
Spoilers!
Okay, let's get. I guess what the next scene is
Them-
Obi-Wan.
They go back to his house,
Yeah.
his retirement villa.
Yes.
And he shows, here, 16-year-old boy, here's a deadly weapon.
Is he 16?
Yeah, I think he's 16.
Okay.
Here's a weapon that you could easily just cut your freaking hand off. Very easily. Here, just wave it around and have fun.
But it would cauterize it so you wouldn't bleed out.
Yes, but he would still very much lose a limb.
Funny that you mentioned.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
But and then he's like, you fought in the Clone Wars? And I'm like, at first you're like, oh, world building, but then you remember, oh, Clone Wars.
So the only thing I know about Clone Wars was an animated series. Is that
It was also
in the prequels?
Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So that was kind of like,
Oh, I was wrong about my
Yeah.
prediction of clones then.
but I think when they came up with that, he didn't have any idea what the Clone Wars were. He was just like, oh, let's come up with some war that happened in the past in Star Wars. Clone Wars. And then when they made the prequels, well, man, we have to come up with some of those clones, and they came up with the worst possible thing. But yeah, at the time, it's world building, but it led to something bad. And then
I want to skip ahead a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe it's not that much of a skip, but when they get back to the farm, so at least the second thing that really bothered me was how quickly Luke got over his family dying.
I know.
I was thinking, okay, it's gonna take some time to grieve. They were just blown up. Or
He sees their
vaporized.
charred skeletons on the ground. He does not cry. He does not fall to his knees. He goes back to Obi-Wan. It's like, well, time to leave the planet.
Yeah, I guess I got to move on.
He feels worse
Wow.
about Obi-Wan dying, a guy he knows for a
Yes.
day, than his parents. They're
I
his
know.
parents. That has always bugged me about this movie.
Yeah, that definitely, like, especially when Obi-Wan dies, and then it's like I was like,
I just
that's
wish,
way more of a reaction, or even the seriousness of when like the princess was in any danger. It's like, we got to get the princess way
Yeah.
more than
it's like, I just wish Ben was here. Like, you knew him for a day. You haven't met, like, he never mentions Uncle Owen or Aunt Prue ever again.
Did he say Peru? He said
Peru.
He said Peru.
I heard Peru.
Uncle Owen or Aunt Prue.
Prue. Whatever, she's dead, doesn't matter. Anyway, he never mentions them again throughout the rest of the movies. It's like, they raised you, young grateful brat. you saw them die in the most horrific way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely bothered me. So then they go to this village, city place.
Mos
Mos Eisley.
Yeah. So first reactions on Han Solo.
Well,
I didn't.
you're skipping ahead a little bit.
I'm intentionally
But-
skipping ahead a little bit, but
I need to mention all the ugly CGI.
Okay.
That,
ugly CGI.
that is the centerpiece of ugly CGI in this movie.
The dinosaurs.
The
on
dinosaurs, you can see like starships like in the sky. You can see all these aliens, and it's just like visual garbage. It looks like vomit.
some of the easiest stuff to get away with costumes they could have done right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like the original didn't have any of that stuff, and it just looked like a nice sand planet. It didn't have all this weird stuff. It's like every shot there was CGI in it, and he's like, you don't need it. You don't need a giant dinosaur next to the cantina.
It's true.
Okay. You can go ahead now. I just need to get that off.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
go.
no,
Let's go
that's
to
fine.
Han Solo.
So Han Solo, I obviously heard of him. I had no idea who he was. It was a total surprise to me that he was like what would you call him?
A rogue.
A rogue?
As like a smuggler.
Like I pictured him to be more. I actually pictured him to be the main character, other than like. I mean, I guess he was, but meaning like.
He's usually the
You
people,
mean more like action hero type?
He kind of
like-
is.
Yeah, no,
But-
more like it's clearly following Luke through his life, and you meet his family and whatever. So he's clearly the main character.
he's the hero.
But I would have thought more of that with Han Solo. I didn't. I pictured him to be nothing but nice. Like he starts off like very rough. and-
He's the cynic, reluctant hero as the movies
Yeah,
go on.
yes.
He doesn't want to have anything to do with this, but he just keeps getting drawn into the situations. Luke wants to be the hero. Han Solo doesn't.
yes, yeah. I did not expect that at all. I honestly expected Han Solo because I thought of Harrison Ford, thinking more
Yeah.
like old, wise, just a solid rock in the films. You know what I mean?
That's
But, like,
Obi-Wan that filling that role in the first movie,
Yes.
the wise one.
Yeah.
What do you think of the scene with Han and Greedo?
That's the alien.
The
green
alien. When they're in the bar.
Oh
Are you aware of the controversy?
no,
Have you ever heard of the Han shot first controversy?
no.
Really? That's surprising, because I think even people who haven't seen Star Wars know about it. To explain it a little bit, I guess, since you don't know, in the original movie, to set it up, Greedo is an alien who is working for Jabba or wants to bring Han Solo in to collect the bounty. So he has a gun pointed at him at the cantina. He's going to fire it. In the original version, Han just takes the gun out and shoots him. There's no retaliatory anything. He just takes the gun out and shoots Greedo, and Greedo is dead. But then...
Which lends more to his character being...
a badass.
Yeah, and rogue.
Yeah, he doesn't
Like-
care.
Like, think of, like, chaotic evil in the sense of, like, D&D or something.
Well,
like
not
that.
chaotic evil. He'd be like chaotic neutral.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Chaotic neutral. But yeah, so in the original, he just shoots him. That's it. But then in the special editions, George Lucas decided, wait, that makes him look like a cold-blooded killer. That makes him look bad. How about we have it so Greedo shoots just a second before Han and misses, and then Han shoots him back and kills him. That way it's self-defense. And every Star Wars fan in the world lost their mind because that just ruins everything and it's unnecessary.
It's funny. I missed that. I thought he just shot him in cold blood.
No, well, the Disney Plus version is slightly different.
So the Disney Plus version, they changed it again.
Oh, okay.
The shots are near simultaneous now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I would have said yeah.
But I was saying to Chad before we even started this podcast, why didn't they just take out Greedo shooting entirely if that was the big problem? Why change the timing? Just remove it entirely. But everyone complains about it. It's like a meme in the Star Wars community, I would say, of the Han shot first. So
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cold-blooded of him. That's at that moment I'm like, okay, this character is very different from what I was picturing. I was picturing him to be, like I said, more like Obi-Wan or whatever.
yeah, but that brings us to my favorite scene, the scene I want to talk about this whole time.
Pizza the
Hut. Oh my god!
So the Pizza the Hut is so much funnier to me after seeing Jabba the Hutt in the CGI form.
He's not. That's the thing, is that when he shows up later, he's not CGI. They made a practical giant puppet of Jabba the Hutt, and it looks amazing. And the scale's off too. Okay, we should probably set the scene up. But
I don't think we need to like set the scene up. We can talk about the context of.
So what I saw was a CGI Jabba the Hutt.
Yes.
right. But I showed you a clip beforehand.
Yes. Which was an Irish guy.
Scottish, Irish.
Scottish.
Whatever.
With
Like literal man.
Fred Flintstone.
Like a
looking
person,
guy.
not an alien, like
Yeah.
a human.
Which I would have preferred. That scene when I first saw that was the CGI wise the first moment I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? It felt really weird. It felt out of place. Like
'Cause it
I
is.
I didn't even really feel like the scene needed to be put in because it didn't there was at no point did it go back to that or anything.
The Greedo scene sets that up way better on its own than that scene does. It's unnecessary.
Yeah. I'm assuming Jabba the Hutt comes up later in more movies.
In Return of the Jedi, he's there, and just everything wrong with this scene. So instead of the original Irish guy, it was a scene that was originally shot for the original movie. They realized we don't need this, and they cut it out wisely. But in the special edition, they put it in. But at that point, Return of the Jedi had come out, so everyone knew what Jabba looked like. So they just drew on top of the actor. They drew a CGI monster on top of the actor. And if you look at Return of the Jedi...
Which looks even worse than what you saw. Like, the CGI there is off, like,
Yeah.
even worse.
Yeah.
Think about, yeah.
But when you look at Return of the Jedi, which is done practical, also the scale is way off. Jabba's like way bigger. He's like 3-4 times bigger than that. But they have him just slightly taller than Harrison Ford. But also in that scene, in the original scene, you noticed he walks around the Scottish man. But they couldn't do anything about that when they wanted to add the CGI. And because Jabba has a tail, when they did the CGI, they digitally raised Harrison Ford up in the frame to make it look like he's walking on top of Jabba the Hutt's tail. Because in the original, they walked around him. They couldn't do anything about it. And just... everything about it is unnecessary. The CGI is bad. And, like, if the thing that really sells it is, like, before Harrison Ford leaves, he's like, Jabba, you're a good human being. He's not a human being at all.
I know. I was watching that scene. I was like, why would he call him a human?
I assumed it was a joke.
No, it's because originally he was talking to an actual person.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because without knowing all this stuff, I skip past a lot of these things. Like, I thought that was just a good joke. He was like, because that would have been funny, right?
Yeah.
If you had to call him something, you know, like a sand person or whatever, like that would have been funny too, right?
Right. But,
so I just assumed it was a joke.
But that whole scene.
Yeah.
That.
It bothered me without even having known anything about it. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that was.
So it actually makes more sense why they at least change if they introduce Jabba the Hutt later as this character.
Yeah.
It makes sense why they went over it. That makes a little more sense. But
yeah, but it's a good setup not even having him in the movie because you get the sense of like Jabba. Oh man, who's Jabba? And then you don't see him originally until Return of the Jedi. Like that's such a good build-up. Having seen where you immediately see him in bad CGI form, it completely deflates that anticipation.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the name of Han Solo's ship?
The Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon.
Falcon.
So I've obviously heard that a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
I've heard 3D puzzles of it, and like I've seen lots of stuff about the Millennium Falcon. I'm assuming it comes in more than just this movie.
Yeah, it's like the staple ship of the whole series.
Okay.
The first 3 movies, yeah.
Okay.
You guys can go over the recap now. I got my my centerpiece thing I wanted to talk about out of the way.
Okay. So next, what's the next big thing you want to hit on though?
Well, introducing the Death Star, like as they're getting to it, they were worried about the tractor beam, right?
Yeah.
Or no, they weren't worried about it. It just pulled them in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just pulled them in, and there's nothing they could do, and they get inside. That was like, I felt the anticipation for them in that scene. It was like quite a bit. Like they were literally being pulled into what looked like the most powerful thing ever created, right? And it was like they were being pulled into this, and what are they going to do? It's amazing, again, movie magic, how they were able to like write their way through this. Like you'd think the Death Star would have been more worried about this ship coming in, like like you would think they would have done more security wise to or just shoot it
I would
down
feel
or-
bad for I felt kind of bad for Han Solo. It's like, yeah, I'll take you to Alderaan. It's like, what is that?
I mean, as you get further in the movie, and he's like, kind of like, I want nothing to be part of your rebellion or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't believe in the Force. It's just a bunch of nonsense religious stuff.
but also,
Like-
the fact that he doesn't want to be involved in the rebellion, you kind of get it. Like I don't want to go back to that like planet-sized ship.
He's such like a cynical character. It's like you wonder what his past was like to turn him into that.
Oh,
Like it's probably like really epic and needs to be told on a $20 million budget. Probably more than that actually.
it was a lot more than that.
Yeah,
Are we gonna watch the Han Solo movie?
a couple years from now when we're done with the other ones.
Okay.
So obviously when they get in there and dealing with that scene, or dealing with like trying to find the princess, and Obi-Wan walks over to the reactors and tries to shut things down, the shields, so they can get out and things like that. That all made a lot of sense, I think.
I think.
R2-D2 being pretty darn powerful, being able to plug into the Death Star and like override security doors.
That made me a little uncomfortable because it's a little too phallic for me.
So, well, to go to what you're saying about like the security that he overrid and all that, like it really dates it like everything technology wise. Like you see screens like they're heads up displays and stuff like in the ships, and it's like the computer screens that they knew of are nothing like computer screens now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
and they wouldn't have been able to predict
that was kind of
it
the
either.
appeal of Star Wars even like now is like the technology kind of looks run down and like grody and busted, which is like in stark contrast to like I don't know, like Star Trek the original series, which today is grounded, but it was always like well polished and shiny, and then Star Wars is just like it's like a dump. Like all their technology.
It's more
looks
like
terrible.
Borderlands. Like
Yeah,
how it's
kinda
just pieced together stuff is what it
sort
seems
of like Borderlands. Yeah.
Well, like I was rewatching. I watched it twice in preparation for this, just for fun.
Yeah.
So the second time I was watching, all I could think of is like when like any of the like space battles is going on, anything involving the ships. It's just like, what are the logistics for like creating these ships? Like, like obviously like the Empire has like probably a planet where they're just producing these ships, like all the TIE fighters and whatnot. But like the Rebellion, what they probably like just like bought these ships from some like
from Greedo,
from some like army or something, like wherever they could, like piecing together their own what would you call it, fleet of ships and stuff.
The Rebellion really shouldn't have a chance at all. If the Empire theoretically has a planet making their ships,
well, it would have to have its own planet. If you think about it, like there's like no way, like all the.
So then the Rebellion should just bomb the planet.
That's a good point too.
I mean,
they need a Death Star to blow it up.
We're gonna build our own Death Star. It'll be slightly bigger. Just by like real world politics, ours will be slightly bigger.
I just looked it up. The original Star Wars movie had a $11 million budget,
which is nothing compared to today.
No, but in 1977, that's probably a lot.
And Solo had $275 million budget. So
it's worth it, worth every penny.
Well, they made their money, but okay.
Barely.
Anything like I felt like watching it and rewatching it, knowing where it was all going. A lot of the movie was on the Death Star, and I was just like, I know there's more to this story, and it just feels like this is a big chunk that drags out.
It's a lot of them running around in stormtrooper uniforms, and then and getting caught in a garbage chute, which I wanted to bring up. So there's a monster in the garbage chute.
Mm-hmm.
Why
at all? Yeah.
Why is it there, and why was it even in the movie? Because the monster's a threat, but then also there's like a compactor. Like, why not just have one thing?
Yeah.
Why have both?
Well, they didn't even fully settle the monster, did they?
Well, the monster runs away, I'm assuming because the monster knows that it's going to compact. But the monster never comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So why was it in the movie at all? Why would you have two threats? Just pick one.
Yeah.
That's weird. And I looked it up. I went on Wikipedia.
I ended up there too.
The monster is called a Dianoga. Apparently, it's like the Star Wars equivalent of like a roach or like a vermin. Like it just gets into like houses and stuff and feeds off garbage.
I much prefer rats.
You also have to think there's probably a lot of those trash compactors around the station.
Right.
Probably like a ton, and also like how does it dispose of all its like all these compacted trash?
Shoots into space.
Shoots into space.
Shoots into space. Who cares?
Also, can anyone do a Chewbacca voice?
Oh.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, I was clearing my throat.
Two things before we even get to the trash compactor. So one, the sound of the stormtroopers running down the hall, like whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's every 10 minutes. I feel like you're hearing the army just running by. It was like okay. Then I kind of grew to like it a little bit. I was like, fun sound.
Yeah. Speaking of the stormtroopers, I also want to mention when they're found out going into the prison cell and they have that really pathetic laser shoot. Where the camera's cutting like a billion times and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and they're just firing all over the place. I'm like, is this supposed to be funny?
They're standing in a tunnel with pretty much nothing to hide behind, and they're not getting shot when there's like 50 stormtroopers firing laser shots down there. Like, okay.
We'll have to call this in to confirm this. Okay, that's fine. And they just start shooting each other. And there's so many edits. I'm like, this is great.
The amount of like cameras they had to destroy when they were in the cell block shooting that.
Yeah.
That was like.
Yeah.
Like there was like another like 10 shots of like cameras being destroyed.
Yeah, that's actually I didn't realize it, but I did notice there were a lot of cameras being shot.
I didn't realize that we were shooting at it first. I'm like, do they not know how the guns work? And it's like, oh, how do you control this thing? It's still funny to me just because how ridiculous it is, but like,
Yeah. No, they're just the fact that they were able to, and the Death Star being as massive it is, like the chances of Princess Leia being close enough to the port that they came in that they could just run and not get caught, and like there's so many things there that, and eventually Han Solo just takes off his helmet and he's like, I don't care anymore. It's like, okay, should probably keep that on. Blend in, but
he doesn't care.
No, and also, so Princess Leia was actually quite a bit cooler than I thought she'd be. I liked her.
I feel like she doesn't do much in this movie. She's mostly just a prisoner to get she's a princess getting rescued.
Yeah, but she was the main force getting back out, right? Like she made the decisions. Let's go in here. Like she was actively trying to get the free stuff, and then the guys were just standing around.
She gets better in later movies, I think, too.
Okay.
So who do you think Leia's gonna end up with?
It makes sense to be Luke, but I have a prediction in here that she's actually Luke's mother.
Mother?
At some point.
I think they're a little too close in age to be. So, unless you're gonna start saying time travel is involved in this.
I don't know. These are my predictions. Okay. Before I saw any movies, I made.
Okay.
Because I guess one of the original debates when the movie came out was, would she end up with Han or with Luke?
It made no sense to be with Han.
Okay.
To me, it makes no sense to me.
Okay.
And as far as this movie goes, it makes no sense to me to be that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like it's gonna. I'm wrong, but we'll see.
Well, just to speed things along here, while they're escaping, we get the greatest lightsaber fight.
Oh my
gosh. Okay. Yes. I gotta move my knee.
I wrote something about this in my notes.
I remembered something about this in my brain.
I just put lame lightsaber fight.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I do have to ask. I have lots of questions. Please tell me lightsaber fights get better than
yes.
This. Okay, good. Number 2. What is this?
That's ancient Jedi art.
it had to just be because it was Alec Guinness, right?
Yeah, he's not gonna learn. He wanted to be out of the movie. He's not gonna learn choreography.
Yeah.
It was that was the major scene of the whole movie. That was like the most let down of the whole thing.
And that's the only time we see lightsabers in the movie, right?
Well, except for
fighting.
Because earlier on Luke has the practice ball where he's ooh. But especially for you who's been on the outside of Star Wars looking in, and it's like, oh man, lightsabers, that must be cool, right?
Yeah.
And to see this.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh my gosh, please tell me they get better than this.
The next 2 movies, lightsabers are better. The prequels, you could say they're technically better, but they're more emotionless and ridiculous in certain parts.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then the Disney ones are fine too. But that first one, that was their trial run to be like, is this cool? And it's cool, but we did it completely wrong.
They should have cut it at that point.
You can't set up lightsabers and be like, well, no one fights with lightsabers. We set this up. Someone has to fight with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Well, in the two, are obviously to me, Darth Vader's obviously the villain, but Obi-Wan was clearly the wise old hero that was going to come up with the solution. That was clear early on, to me. Mm-hmm. And so
Mm-hmm.
when they were going to fight, I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
And then I got the impression that Obi-Wan was actually going to give up on that because he clearly just gave up, right? He just held up his lightsaber and got. So I predict him coming back because he kind of smiled. And
he says, "If you strike me down, I become more powerful than you can possibly imagine."
Yeah.
So it looked like I think he gives up. He just gives up, and it's like, and then we're talking about cutting off limbs and shooting people and cauterizing. He gets hit by a lightsaber and atomizes and disappears.
Yeah,
except for his cloak.
Yeah.
So he's running around naked somewhere.
Yeah, that was his plan.
Make the little pitter patter of his feet.
He's hiding. He's hiding in the Death Star, sabotaging it from within. He's like, guys, I got it, and then it blows up at the end. It's like, guys, I was figuring it out.
Yeah.
You ruined my plan.
So I thought when they escaped, that was gonna be the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then
because it feels like that's
winding
big.
down.
You didn't think there would be a 4th act.
Yeah.
Whatever we're on. Definitely. So I definitely, in my mind, I was like, okay, the movie's going to end. I click it, 40 minutes left. I'm like, what are they going to do for 40 minutes?
They're going to have a sick dog fight in space.
So were you?
I did not predict
Were you I guess at this point, were you expecting like, oh, they must blow up the Death Star now? This must be what's going to happen, or did you just not think about it?
No,
too
I
much?
assumed they were going to just defend.
Oh, okay.
Like once I realized they were moving to the planet, I thought they were just going to defend it in a way. I didn't honestly. I remembered one scene that Robot Chicken. There was a scene where Davenfeld, is that the guy who sits in the chair with the cloak?
That's Palpatine.
Palpatine, shoot.
Davenfeld is that guy who's in one scene when they're combing the desert for the droids.
Okay.
The guy was like, yeah, we can't find him. They gave him a name. Can you believe that?
So anyway, it must have been Palpatine that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
In Robot Chicken, and he goes, "We're just gonna blow up the Death Star," and he's like, "Whatever." So I never like. So I assumed, honestly, when I saw the Death Star, it was not possible to blow it up. I assumed it was going to carry for a few movies.
Yeah. Well,
I'm assuming.
I can't say anymore.
I'm assuming Darth Vader, that was just a small Death Star. He has the real Death Star.
The small Death Star.
The small Death Star.
Okay.
So I didn't expect the dogfight to happen.
Yeah.
When they got to the graphics of the dogfighting, I've seen that iconic, like, just like see the through the window pane and they're seeing the shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
Like every, space game of all time has like those types of scenes and
Yeah,
stuff.
you could say it's influenced by, those were probably influenced by Star Wars in this dogfight.
Yeah. Before I skip ahead, like, I want to talk about how they blow up the Death Star. But is there anything, like, before we... like anything major?
Well, when they're at the Rebel base, I think they had, the only good thing they had in the special edition is the fact that Luke gets to talk to Biggs again.
That wasn't in the original?
No, that was that was shot.
A deleted scene?
It was the lead scene that they added back in the special edition. I think it's the only good change.
That is a, like, I mean, yeah, that seems worth it.
Because during the dogfight, they do talk to each other, like, over comms.
Yeah.
But having them meet up and kind of reconnect before that kind of adds a little bit more camaraderie to that when they're actually fighting. So the one good change.
Nothing about when they're actually on the base. You just want to get into the dogfight?
I don't really remember much on the base.
No.
Didn't seem like
That's the old guy giving the PowerPoint presentation of, like, here's how we stop the Death Star. Princess Leia. I've been drinking.
Yeah, like, okay. Explaining how to blow up the Death Star. I only watched it once. I didn't go back and rewatch it. But did they show a bullet go straight in and then down?
Yeah, well, it was a homing bullet, wasn't it? It's like they said it was like a proton something, like a proton explosive,
okay.
proton torpedo?
Proton torpedo.
Yeah, as opposed to a photon torpedo, which is Star Trek. They have a proton torpedo. Nice use of your influences. But anyway, yeah, it like homes on. It goes in the tiny little flaw that they're like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Should we put like a sign out front or like?
So was it just like, what was that tunnel?
It was the weak spot.
You mean the
what was the purpose of that tunnel construction?
The trench, or where they shoot,
the hole they shoot through, and then
ventilation,
exhaust port or something.
Exhaust port.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But yeah, they couldn't put like a metal grate in front of it or like anything.
Yeah, that part really bothered me, but again, I won't get into the.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
90-degree bullet turns. But
I mean, you have a self-destruct button on the outside of your ship that anyone can just shoot a gun into.
Well, I mean, like,
it's kind of a huge security oversight.
But also, like, think about how impossible it was. I mean,
I don't know, a bunch of scrappy rebel fighters did it pretty easily.
But Han Solo saved the day.
Barely. He got a medal at the end. He barely did anything. He just showed up.
He was like the only one left.
He was a distraction.
Pretty much like the two of them were
distraction.
The thing about the whole dogfighting, if no one has anything to say, there's a point where when Han Solo comes in and he shoots one of the TIE fighters and gets destroyed, and then the other one runs into Darth Vader and his ship goes flying, right?
No,
the funniest thing, I laughed out loud, is when the first TIE destroyer gets shot, Darth Vader looks over and he's like, "What?" And it's like,
what? I don't remember that.
It's the most like unlike James Earl Jones voice. Like, it was like It's like if whoever's editing this, if they can just like put that in, because it's just like it was. Oh man, it made me laugh so much.
Okay, that's honestly, whenever the dogfight comes off, my attention tends to wane. I end up looking at my phone, and because I'm not super into dogfights and stuff like that. It's a little frantic editing wise too, so I don't really pay attention that much.
Yeah.
But I remember Darth Vader flying off into space.
Yeah.
Curse you, Skywalker! I'll have my day yet, and then he flies away, never to be seen again.
I did not expect him to be in the dogfight. Like, that seems like a role beneath him. You know what I mean? If he's like Darth Vader.
Well, there's actually a good reason for that. You know who Darth Vader is.
Yeah.
He's Luke's father. And Obi-Wan says that that Luke's father was one of the best pilots he had ever seen. So.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's the reason.
But, it just felt a little bit beneath him.
Okay.
The dogfight scene, I think this is typical of most movies, but it goes on forever. It's just like the constant
like they
chasing.
had to make like two passes at like
the two passes, but like they're just constantly in line. Got to wait for my shot here.
Well, that's why I said I don't watch it. That's why I say I don't pay attention a lot when I'm watching it. My eyes tend to wander.
Yeah. No, I get that.
That was definitely the slow part of the movie for me. The rest of it, there's so much going on that, like, for me as a first-time watcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like some of the Death Star stuff when they're on is a little slow too.
Yeah,
I feel like everything up until the Death Star I feel flows really well, but then the Death Star kind of hits a couple bumps here and there.
Yeah,
not a perfect movie. I'm gonna say that. But yeah, before we get into kind of wrapping up our general opinions, we got to talk about the metal scene.
Do you know what? The second time I watched it was today. I wanted everything kind of fresh in my mind. Mm-hmm. I kind of like put it on in the background and didn't really pay attention to it a whole lot. But
the metal scene?
The whole movie. But the metal scene, I thought that was like one of the coolest sets ever. When it's like you get the shot. What, you have your own opinion of it?
No, if you like that, you're a bad person.
Which scene?
The metal scene at the end where
they give them the medals.
There was metal. I thought
it was just like the panning up shot where you see the whole hall and that. I was just like, that's interesting. Like it was like I was there like all I could think of is like the production like making that set and everything, and I was just there like some good choices there. I thought, but I don't know.
I have something important to say about this. And the shot competition. Okay. I've said before that George Lucas was inspired by a lot of things: Flash Gordon and serials, samurai movies. But also Triumph of the Will.
Yeah.
Which, are you aware what that is?
No, not actually.
That is a movie commissioned by Hitler.
Really?
It is a Nazi propaganda movie.
We should watch that one next.
I was going to watch that for this to be informed, but I'm like, I can't. But the ending of Star Wars, the scene is taken directly from a scene in Triumph of the Will. The set is almost identical, and the shot composition is identical. And George Lucas has said he took it from a Nazi propaganda movie.
I would be influenced a lot by friggin' Nazi propaganda then.
You gotta be careful.
That's why I'm like, that's when you're like, I really like that. It's like, maybe.
Well, the propaganda's made to be like.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is about I don't want to talk too much about Triumph of the Will because it's awful. No one should watch it. But it also had a lot of pioneering film techniques that lots of people used. But that was the most overt someone in the West had done that, where it's like, I like this scene of Hitler and his like entourage walking down a whole line of people who are like Nazis. I like that. I want that to be, instead of Hitler, I want that to be Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. And I want to turn something bad into something good.
I mean, that's commendable.
I mean, is it? Maybe we should just leave it in the past.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, like, based on the first movie, what were your favorite characters? I guess, like, who your main? Or let's pick one character each, and then.
Well, we didn't talk about him much, but Bluto, obviously.
We're not talking about Popeye, Kyle. I'm cultured now, okay? I know all these things.
Can't we
okay?
just pretend that Bluto is in the movie? Wouldn't that be funny?
You shouldn't have told me who it was. And I would have been like, I didn't get to see Bluto.
Oh man, Bluto. We can pretend. It's fun to pretend. Favorite characters?
So I really liked the dynamic of Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin. How it's like Darth Vader is
We
like
didn't talk about him at all.
We didn't, but Darth Vader is supposed to be like this very big, like menacing, like villain. But there's like Grand Moff kind of has like this. He ends up dying at the end because he's in the Death Star. He has like this point where he's like one of his generals is like, should we get your escape pod ready while this attack is happening on the Death Star? He's like, no, we're gonna wipe them out.
Yeah,
but he's like,
Overconfident.
he's kind of got this control over Darth Vader. But also like, not even like control. There's like a point where Darth Vader's like choking out one of the guys, and Grand Moff's like, okay, that's enough. But also like respects Darth Vader's like powers at the same time too.
Yeah, because he's kind of like the real one in charge. Cause is it Leia who at point says like he's just Darth Vader's just like a dog on a leash?
Yeah.
Because essentially he's just like a jacked bodyguard essentially.
Yeah.
And then it's not until the later movies where he like becomes like the real villain. So yeah.
I was a little surprised by that. I didn't expect anyone to be equal or higher than Vader.
Well, Vader's more stronger, but I don't think he's high up in the Empire. Maybe that's how it works. But yeah, it's like, I completely forgot about Tarkin. I'm glad you brought him up because he's awesome.
I read a trivia thing about how he hated his uniform, specifically the shoes that they were made to wear. So like anytime you see him like in like one of the round table scenes or whatever, like anytime you don't see his feet, apparently he was wearing slippers.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was funny. And
I wonder if his character didn't die, if that actor would have shown up for.
I think he would have, because when I was reading about like Alec Guinness hating the movie, I guess Peter Cushing, he loved being in this movie.
Yeah,
it was one of his favorite. Like he loved like how kids loved it and stuff like that.
Exactly, and Alec Guinness didn't like that, and Harrison Ford hates Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
So it's like all the people who hated it, and it's like people who actually like it. It's like, oh, you're in one movie, then you're gone.
Yeah. Well, he did come back.
We're not talking about Rogue One.
Okay, but he did come
That's
back.
not actually him.
I know,
it's a CGI monstrosity. He's been dead for 20 years, Chad.
Yes.
That's not him in the movie.
I know. Okay, your favorite characters then?
This is a hard question.
It is a hard question.
Well, I think that actually leads to my point. There's no one character that stood out to me that was like...
A lot of people really like Han Solo a lot.
Yes.
He gets better as the movies go on, but in this movie specifically, he didn't do much for me.
Yeah, I would say that. So far, he hasn't really done much for me. I did like Luke. I liked his character. I didn't like the jumping around and so much, like not caring about his family, and then caring all of a sudden he's in love with the princess he saw on a little tiny hologram, and then it's like that part was
he's
all...
16, he has hormones.
It's the only woman he's seen besides
his aunt or whatever.
His aunt. Aunt Prune.
Prune?
Yeah.
Peru.
I'm going to keep saying it wrong every time now.
You're going to mess me up, Kyle. Luke, but Obi-Wan seems like an obvious one, but then there's the big fail in the fight scene at the end that just lost it all for me. Like, he seemed so wise, and he was sneaking through and disabling things and convincing people, making sound, like using the Force really well, and then just slaps them all around at the end.
That's true, but I think out of the characters, I think I liked Obi-Wan the most. Just because he just seems like he's like an old war vet, essentially. Like, he seems the most experienced. Like, it might be attributed to the fact that I know his past and stuff, but like, it's hard to kind of separate that in your mind. But like, he's probably the one I find the most interesting.
He's the one I think, if he had been that's the one I would typically lean towards. Like Dumbledore and Harry Potter. I love Dumbledore. It's one of my favorite characters in any series of all time.
Yeah.
Dumbledore is great.
Or Gandalf.
Gandalf.
Any old dude.
Yeah, but then I was like, at the beginning, I was like, okay, I think this will be my favorite character, and then it went on, and I was like, because I'm not usually a fan of the main character, typically. Like, I usually, like, for instance, in Harry Potter again.
I was going to say, don't say Harry Potter again.
Snape, fantastic character in so many ways.
Yeah.
And so like, but Harry, I was like,
he's kind of boring. He's a little boring, Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna say Snape. I'm like,
No, not Snape.
Snape is
Harry's boring, and he's more of a vehicle for you to see all the awesome characters.
Yeah.
So you did like the movie.
I did like the movie. I'm looking forward to the second one. I feel like after the second one, I'll have a better sense of like, will I feel like wanting to watch more? Obviously, after the first one, I know there's 8 more to come, so I'm like, okay, well, I want to watch one more at least. But
and the next one we watch is considered the best Star Wars movie, Empire Strikes Back.
One you predict that you'll like the most too.
Yeah,
apparently.
And it's still, I would say, it's still considered the best one.
I'm excited for it, for sure. I'm also kind of excited to get to the prequels, but I feel like that makes you cringe.
Oh, I'm gonna have fun with the prequels. Chad and I are gonna get into a fist fight.
There's something I like about
origin
Beasts.
Stories.
Well, yeah, a little bit like Fantastic Beasts, going back and seeing characters grow, and I kind of like.
But
that
when you watch
personally.
a prequel that makes all the characters look lame in the present, it's like, is that worth it?
I feel like we need a counter on the bottom that every time Adam brings up Harry Potter, or we have to like limit them. You get 3 strikes.
Yeah,
it's not unreasonable for me to bring up Harry Potter, though, right? Like it is a long series. This is roughly the same amount of movies. I'm sure it was somewhat I'm sure J.K. Rowling was somewhat influenced by Star Wars in some sense.
She was influenced by a lot of stuff. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But meaning, I'm sure Star Wars is one of them, and it's my favorite series. And there's like anything in life I can bring back to Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings. But I find Harry Potter's a little closer than Lord of the Rings. Personally, like in terms of...
I like Lord of the Rings way more.
Oh, I like Lord of the Rings more, but meaning I feel like Star Wars is closer to...
it's too bad all of us have seen Lord of the Rings, so we can't do an episode on it.
Yeah.
Damn it. We can never do a Harry Potter one either, because we've all seen them.
Yeah.
But we gotta talk about Star Wars.
I think I'm predicting now that I will like the series and I will want to watch all the other movies.
I'm surprised that you liked the first one, I'll be honest.
I did really like it, actually.
I didn't think it would be something you would get into.
At no point, at no point did I want to shut it off, but at one point I did check the time, which is when I thought it was over.
Right.
And then they continued, but it was a cool scene. So we'll see you next week, unless this works.
Yeah, we're going to watch Empire Strikes Back.
All right, let me see if it's queued up here. Okay, so...
What? That is... What? How did I not notice that before?
I was watching this today.
What?
And I had to replay it because I was like, is that James Earl Jones?
3, 2, 1.
What?